What's going on, everybody? It is Meteorologist Joe Martucci. It is our Something in the Air podcast time. Now, here's the thing. There are special guests, and then there is Vincent Jackson, who is with me right now. He is our staff writer, longtime features writer, brightest smile in the room guy, something I've been looking forward to doing since, I don't know, when did we first talk about this? The middle of May, perhaps? So Vincent Jackson, a music guru, is here because we are doing something a little different with our Something in the Air podcast. So Vince, let me just turn it over to you. Say hi to everybody. And it's a pleasure to be with you today.
Well, thank you, Joe. Thank you for inviting me to your Something in the Air podcast. Thank you for all your regular people who watch the podcast, listen to the podcast. Hopefully they will find this entertaining.
Well, I think with the two of us, I think we can do a pretty good job. I think we're going to be pretty good here. Are you a podcast guy, Vince?
I'm not really a podcast guy there, Joe.
Right. Okay. Do you think you'd be interested in podcasts in the future?
It's always a possibility. I know there are definitely interesting podcasts out there. It seems like something everybody's doing these days.
Understood. Now, here's what we're doing today. I should tell everybody what we have going on here. We are going to rate, well, I don't say we. Vince is going to rate his top 5 favorite songs for 5 different weather categories. Vince lives, eats, breathes, sleeps, dreams, thinks, is music. Vince has been covering music for a long time. He's been covering features for a long time here, Vince. So just tell everybody, why are you so in love with music?
Oh my gosh. I don't know. It's hard for me to explain. I think because it's one of my all-time favorite things in life, something I can't live without. I think it's one of the things that makes life worth living. And I felt that way since I was a wee lad, a teenager. And it just
growing up in Queens.
Growing up in Queens, New York. And that probably has a lot to do with it. You know, growing up in Queens with all the great concert venues there and being able to see musicians that I wouldn't have been able to see maybe if I grew up like in the Midwest or something.
That's right. Well, you know, New York City has it all. Atlantic City has a lot too. So you've been here at the press for over 20 years, right?
Yeah, it's 25 years I've been at the press.
Oh, well, we got to get you a cake after this podcast to celebrate. You know, when you first started here at the press and compare it to now, well, I'll say pre-COVID now, what have you seen in the music scene here in Atlantic City?
Well, all I could say, Joe, and I was just thinking about this recently. When I first started working at the press, I think it was still one of the greatest times. And I'm talking about, I'm going to break this into 2 separate areas, maybe 1995 to 2000, but really like 1998, because that was the period of time where what is now the Golden Nugget was then Trump Castle or Trump. It was switching from Trump Castle to Trump Marina.
Yeah.
And they rebranded themselves. And the way they rebranded themselves was, I think it was called the Wild Side or something. And the Trump property was the first one to really start bringing in like newer acts. It was a really exciting time. And it's also the beginning of the time when the press actually started reviewing concerts. Before then, we had a columnist, Dave Spatz, who's on the radio. Now, Spatz would go to review, he'd go see shows and write about them for a column. But we did not review shows until 1998.
Gotcha.
Exciting time.
So the late 90s to about 2000 was the time for a fresh events to be out in the scene in Atlantic City.
It's debatable. This is what I was thinking about today because I had to look it up. You also had another period of time. I'm going to argue the opening of Borgata to 2003 to the recession, because you had the opening of Borgata in 2003. You had the House of Blues in 2005, because there was a period of time where I remember having a distinct conversation with Scott Cronick about this, also on the radio and also here at the press, where we were really starting to catch up. There were some new up-and-coming bands Atlantic City didn't have, but for the most part, that was a short period of time where most anyone who was anyone played Atlantic City.
Gotcha.
And so those two distinct period of times were great times in music.
Right.
And there was one great times before I got here, if you talk to a local musician.
Right. Understood. How about weather, Vince? You a big weather guy?
Well, I'm a big weather guy, Joe, because Joe, I don't like to be rained on.
That is true. Yes, I do. I do know that. Yes.
And it really affects how I'm going to dress. So those two things, I have to keep track of the weather for those two things.
Well,
Plus
Vince,
also
you're asking me all the
assigning
time,
stories.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Assigning stories. If I'm trying to do an outdoor story, as you well know,
yes.
I need to know the weather because I don't want to be do an outdoor story and get rained on.
That's correct. We don't want to rain on Vince's parade.
Neither personally nor professionally.
That is correct. I completely understand. All right, so we're going to get into this list. So you actually curated this list a couple of weeks ago. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to talk about the 5 songs. I will list the 5, and then we're going to talk about it a little bit.
Okay.
So we're going to start off with our top 5 favorite songs. So here's the top 5. We have Shelter from the Storm by Bob Dylan, Quiet Storm by Smokey Robinson, Tokyo Storm Warning by Elvis Costello, Riders on the Storm from The Doors, and Riding the Storm Out by a group that has a soft spot in my heart, as we talked about earlier today, REO Speedwagon.
Yes.
So Vince.
The Wagon.
Well, I'm sorry?
The Wagon.
The Wagon, yes. They were a wagon, and they are the wagon. So Vince, just tell me what you thought of for these 5 songs here. And, a lot of these songs, I think all of them were in the 60s and 70s. Maybe the exception's Tokyo Storm Warning. That might have been
Tokyo Storm Warning's in the 80s. That's correct.
All right, so let's hear. What were your thoughts on this? Now, I should say these are Vince's top 5 favorite songs. For all intents and purposes, these should be all of our top 5 favorite songs. Just
I don't know if
that Vincent Jackson has in music.
I don't know if I'd go that far. Well, it's a pretty diverse list there, even though it's the same time period.
Yeah.
Because a pretty diverse list. Quiet Storm, I just thought it was kind of interesting because that's one song that's really a whole genre of music. And I think I wrote that in my explanation to you. There was this R&B format, not one of my favorites, but just basically slow romantic music. And it used to come on at night as people were going to bed. And that Smokey Robinson song, they named it after that. It's called The Quiet Storm. You hear Sade, Anita Baker, all that kind of stuff. So that was kind of interesting. And there's just a whole bunch of different songs here. We got the great Bob Dylan, Shelter from the Storm. And sometimes Dylan, it's hard to figure out exactly what he's talking about in his lyrics. But Shelter from the Storm is a little bit more direct than usual. Not classic 1960s Dylan, but Dylan from the 70s, which a lot of Dylan aficionados still love.
And let's talk about Bob Dylan for a little bit, because Bob he's an artist who likes his weather. He has multiple songs that talk about the weather.
Yes. And this may be a little bit of tip-off for people who are coming in later watching this podcast, but what I try to do is have diversity, so I try not to pick too many songs from the same artist. So I am fully aware that Bob Dylan has Blowing in the Wind and A Hard Rain's Gonna Fall. So I did not pick those songs. I picked Shelter from the Storm as my one Bob Dylan song to represent him.
I don't know if we ever talked about this, but I had a professor at Rutgers, Dr. Alan Robach, who did his PhD dissertation on Bob Dylan and the weather.
Really?
I think you could probably get your PhD by talking about Bob Dylan, the weather, man.
Well, I don't know if you're a professor or did. Also, Idiot Wind. Let's not leave that one out.
Right, yes.
So, a lot of Dylan weather songs, but Shelter from the Storm was my selection.
Beautiful.
No slight to the others.
Right, no slight to the others. Understood. All right, let's get going on to our second one, which is temperature. Now, we did have discussion about should we just do hot or cold temperatures. Maybe we'll do a winter podcast with, winter themes. We did go with a combined list here. We did go with hot and cold, which was not on the list. Hot and Cold was not on the list by Katy Perry.
That is correct.
Do you like that song?
It's okay.
It's okay. Right. So here we go. So here's what we have for the 5 here. We have Cold Sweat by James Brown, Cold, Cold Heart by Hank Williams, She's So Cold by the Rolling Stones. Now we heat up at this point. We're climbing up the temperature, not the Sean Paul song. But we have Hot in Here by Nelly, and then The Block is Hot by Lil Wayne featuring Juvenile and BG. So Vince, let's start with our cold songs here. Well, let me ask you this. How come our cold songs are all of the older songs, but then we have Hot in Here and The Block is Hot, which are from about the past 20 years or so? Do you think there's more hot songs in our weather music lingo nowadays?
There could be. I mean, maybe that's the influence of hip hop, is that maybe that has added a few more hot songs into the little list we have created over here.
Right. All right. Well, tell me about Cold Sweat by James Brown, because you wrote here, you had a little blurb here. The song reached number 7 on the Hot 100 chart and hit number 1 on the R&B chart. And you put a specific quote. You wrote, "When you kiss me, when you miss me, hold my hand, make me understand, I break out in a cold sweat." Why did you pick out that lyric?
Well, I just think that, as I wrote, once you get past James Brown's initial funk single, Papa's Got a Brand New Bag, where he basically created a whole new type of music, Cold Sweat, I mean, that's another one of the all-time great James Brown songs.
There you go. All right. Now, Hank Williams has showed up on another top 10 list of yours, I believe. Is that correct? That was top 10 artists that passed away by the age of 30.
That is correct.
Yeah. Now, side note for everybody, we've been doing these lists since last October. We actually started out with top 10 favorite Kanye West songs by Vincent Jackson. Number 1, Gold Digger.
Yeah, that is a great one.
So anyway, we had Cold, Cold Heart by Hank Williams, who's also been on another Vincent Jackson list. Let's switch it over to the hot ones. Hot in Here by Nelly. Why did it make the top 5?
It's funny. The reason why it made the top 5, I mean, I think that is Nelly's best song. And I wonder if you would even go to a party today. I don't know if it would be considered corny and they wouldn't play it. But I remember seeing an interview where an actress was talking about like lyrics, and they were making fun of the lyrics of Hot in Here because they're just simplistic. But the music, the beat, which is the song was produced by the Neptunes, I mean, it put Nelly on the map. So I think it deserved being on the list.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I go to parties. I mean, not now. In the pre-social distancing world, I've gone to parties. I still hear Hot in Here by Nelly. So I think it's alive and well. I mean, maybe the Gen Zers, they're not into Hot in Here by Nelly. A lot of them maybe weren't born. I mean,
Nelly might be considered too commercial. So we got to first say like Country Grammar. Right. That made his name, but I think Hot in Here kind of cemented his, whatever you want to call it, superstar status in rap at that time.
Right. And I just want to go off topic because the Neptunes, they've been around forever. Mm-hmm. That's the only point I want to make.
All right. And the Neptunes are great, especially Pharrell.
That's right.
Also say that also.
Pharrell doesn't even age. I was watching him on TV like, I don't know, maybe 4 days ago. He looks like the exact same he did in like 2003. Yeah,
he's one of the best producers of the last 20 years in the R&B hip-hop field. It's amazing.
Yeah. All right, Ben, so here we go. I think the temperature a little too hot right now. We got to break it down a little bit. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a commercial break. We're going to come back, and then we have 3 more categories to go. This is Something in the Air podcast.
My favorite part about the R. Dorrington Foundation is when I learn all about ice hockey and have fun with other kids.
The R. Dorrington Ice Hockey Foundation provides a free hockey program to low and middle income youth in Atlantic City.
One of the components of the Art Dorrington Ice Hockey Foundation is the education component. Fundamental learning there is on character building.
My father, Art Dorrington, loved Atlantic City so much that after signing his NHL contract with the New York Rangers, he came down to Atlantic City, started skating with the Seagulls. He found his love of his life, and he settled here in Atlantic City.
The kids get teamwork, they learn the fundamentals of ice hockey, and they learn to be
On the ice and off the street. On the ice and off the street.
All right, welcome back, everybody. It's meteorologist Joe Martucci. This is Something in the Air podcast. Join with me is longtime features writer, longtime staff writer, longtime music guru, also known as VJax, Vincent Jackson. He is here with us because we are breaking down 5 different weather categories and 5 different songs. So the top 5 songs in 5 different weather categories. We did storm already, and we did temperature already. Now we are going to talk about the wind. And it's interesting because the first one you had on this list is pretty much the first thing I think of when you say wind. And that is The Wind Cries Mary by Jimi Hendrix, fellow left-hander. Shout out to all left-handers out there. But Jimi Hendrix. So we have The Wind Cries Mary by Jimi Hendrix. Number 2 is Candle in the Wind by Elton John. Against the Wind by Bob Seger and the Silver Bullet Band. Then we have Dust in the Wind, which I also think about a lot of times too, by Kansas. And then we have Kisses on the Wind. Now, when I look at the list here, I actually only knew 3 of them. I knew The Wind Cries Mary, Against the Wind, and Dust in the Wind. But just to kind of take us through the top 5 list here, I mean, this is also, with the exception of Kisses in the Wind, again, on the older side with the songs. So we have a lot of classics here.
Right.
I think we just talked about the wind more back in the 1960s and 70s. That's
very possible.
Very possible.
So you said, what was the other song? You didn't know Kisses on the Wind. What was the other song you did not know?
I didn't know Candle in the Wind.
Really?
Yeah.
It's shocking.
I like Elton John. I'm a casual Elton John fan. I go see him in concert, but I probably wouldn't pay for it. Probably if I got free tickets, I'd go see him. But that doesn't mean I don't dislike him. But I'm not. I
think it's shocking that you know Against the Wind and you don't know Candle in the Wind. Candle in the Wind is a much bigger song than Against the Wind.
I don't know. Maybe I missed it. We talk about my mom a lot of times, right? As an influencing person in my music decisions. I don't know if that was on the radio that much. I don't think she's a huge Elton John fan, my mom.
You think she likes Seeger more than Elton John?
My dad likes Seeger. Okay. That's probably where that came in.
That's the explanation.
Yeah. So, The Wind Cries Mary, Jimi Hendrix. I mean, you love Jimi Hendrix. Best guitar player ever.
He is the greatest electric guitar player, in my opinion, at least of the rock style anyway.
All right. Let's go. So we're gonna switch from wind. We're going to get over to rain. Now, this one has a special place in Vincent's heart, and I'm going to tell you why in a couple of seconds. But we have 5 songs here. And a good range of years. We kind of span all the decades here. We didn't go too far back, but here's why it's a special one in Vince's heart. That's because his favorite artist is on this list, and that would be the Purple one itself.
That is correct.
We have Purple Rain by Prince, Rain, clever, by Madonna, Super Duper Fly, parentheses The Rain, by Missy Elliott. Then we have I Can't Stand the Rain by Ann Peebles. Did I say that right? Peebles.
Yeah, Ann Peebles, yes.
Ann Peebles. And then Only Happy When It Rains by one of my favorite artists' names, or I should say group names, Garbage. I can't even say it without laughing. But, so we spent all the decades on this. Just to, Vince, talk to me about Purple Rain. I'm sure it's something you could tell us a little bit about, just the makings of the song, what it meant to you, what it meant to Prince.
Well, obviously, in Prince, I think it's, even though it was not a number 1 record, Prince had 4 number 1 records, Kiss, Let's Go Crazy, and Bat Dance. Purple Rain was not a number 1, and When Doves Cry. Purple Rain was not a number 1 record, but I think it's the number 1 song when people think of Prince, they think of Purple Rain. So obviously, so most strongly identified with it. Yeah.
Have you seen Prince in Atlantic City? Has he played in Atlantic City?
Good trivia question. Not many people are going to know this. Prince only played in Atlantic City 1 time. Oh. And this is exactly what we were talking about at the beginning of the podcast. I think it was 1998. He played at what is now the Golden Nugget when it was the Trump Marina. He played at a venue called the Grand Cayman, only held about 2,000 people. And I don't think it was just Prince. I think it was Prince, Chaka Khan, maybe Larry Graham was there, maybe not, but definitely Chaka Khan was there.
And were you there?
And I was there. I reviewed that show.
And what did you think of the show? Do you remember what the review
said? I remember I had some friends of mine were there, fellow Prince fans. The beginning of that show, I thought, started off as strong as any Prince show that I had seen up until that point. But I think he did hurt himself in that show. I think he hurt his ankle, and it sort of tapered off after that.
Right. So he wasn't hanging out.
Started off as strong as any Prince shot I've ever seen in my life.
Wow. Okay. All right. Very cool. Let's talk about Stupid Duper Fly, The Rain by Missy Elliott, because this was the first single from her debut album.
Mm-hmm.
Missy Elliott's been around for a while. This was 1997. I'm looking here. But you said the video is more famous than the song itself.
Or as famous. I think the video is groundbreaking, trend-setting. It was made by a music video director named Hype Williams. And anyone who's seen the video knows it's famous for the fisheye camera lens, which magnifies certain parts of the screen and makes it bigger. And it looks like Missy Elliott's dancing around in like a big black garbage bag. And it's just iconic.
Wow. Missy Elliott's pretty iconic too. So I guess she knew what she was doing earlier. And Hype Williams knew what he was doing at the time.
Yeah, Missy Elliott absolutely style trendsetter and made some groundbreaking videos back in the day.
That's right. All right, so here we go. We got the last one here. We're going to end on a high note. How about some sunshine? We all like the sun. Summer, good time for the sun, good time for this top 5 list. We have You Are the Sunshine of My Life by Stevie Wonder. Vince, you want a little trivia?
Give me
Stevie
a little
Wonder and I have
trivia.
the same birthday. We're birthday buddies.
I did not know that.
May 13th, baby.
That's a great day.
It is. We got not only Stevie Wonder, we have Darius Rucker, Hootie and the
Okay.
Blowfish, solo country artist now. We
Okay.
have John Kasich, former governor of Ohio, former presidential candidate. We have Brianna
Okay.
Decker, Olympian ice hockey medalist.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, she's born the exact same day as me as well. So
Wow.
May 13th is a big day. Plus, Vince, we have our
Yeah.
monthly podcast guest, New Jersey State climatologist Dave Robinson, my meteorological father. He is
Oh.
also a May 13ther as well. So it's a
Ooh.
big day. So I'm happy you put Stevie on this list.
Oh, Stevie had to be on the list.
You got any famous artists on your birthday, Vince?
Not that I could think of, Joe, but can't say I've actually looked that up.
You got to go on Wikipedia. Wikipedia tells you all.
I will research that.
Wonderful. So anyway, we got You Are the Sunshine of My Life by Stevie Wonder. Then we have Sun is Shining by Bob Marley. Then we have Walking on Sunshine. I always think of water parks when I think of Walking on Sunshine. Then we have Pocket Full of Sunshine by Natasha Bedingfield. And then Johnny Sunshine by Liz Phair.
Yes.
I want to touch on Pocket Full of Sunshine real quick because Natasha Bedingfield was on a heater in the mid-2000s.
Yes, she was.
She had two top 5 singles, 2 top 5 singles, I should say, right? And she
Yeah.
was touring. She was like on the way up to like world-renowned status. And then, I don't know. I haven't heard much from her. I don't know. Maybe you're keeping more tabs on the Natasha Bedingfield scene. But she was really on a heater, and Pocket Full of Sunshine was one of those songs.
Yes. No, I can't say I've been keeping track of Natasha Bedingfield. Even when I wrote you my little explanation, I was like, who actually remembers Natasha Bedingfield?
Yes, I did. That is on the list. I was trying to be nice. I didn't want to read it. No offense to Natasha here, but yeah, Natasha, she was good. I like Natasha Bedingfield. I'm gonna have to, maybe I'll listen to some more Natasha in the future here. But we also span a good amount of time here. We got Stevie, 1972. Bob Marley, I believe, was 79. Walking on Sunshine was the 80s. Very 80s song, Pocket Full of Sunshine. Or not, Walking on Sunshine. I'm sorry. Walking on Sunshine, very 80s song. We got some modern stuff with Natasha, mid-2000. Johnny Sunshine was in the 90s. When you thought of this, I feel like, and you correct me if I'm wrong, was Sunshine the hardest list? I feel like there's a lot of Sun songs out there.
Yeah, because I also, when I'm creating the Sunshine list, and some lists more than others, I was trying to get more, diversity, like you were saying, in time periods, because clearly George Harrison's Here Come the Sun could be on here, or Good Day Sunshine.
Yeah.
So I tried to, in certain cases, I had to leave off some of, there's already a lot of classic rock on this list. I had to leave off even more classic rock to make room for different decades.
Maybe in the winter list, we can do another top 5 Sun. We can fill in the other ones that you want.
I'm sure we could come up with another. Waiting for a Sunny Day by Bruce Springsteen could have easily have made the list.
Also true. What about Swayze? Swayze could have made the list plenty of times here.
I didn't know he had any songs that with the weather in the title.
Of Sunday Morning California Sunshine, Summertime Music.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I those are the two that come right off the top of my head.
And you just
Swayze and Cisco Adler, I might mind too. Cisco Adler has Travelin', which talks not the title doesn't have music in it, but he talks about that comparing different girls to different states.
Oh, I see.
How they break his heart, how maybe he's broken their hearts, things like that. So shout out Swayze and Cisco on that one.
All right. Okay.
Yeah. I was gonna say one more thing. Oh, when you said "Here Comes the Sun,"
yes.
I always think every time I listen to the song, my junior or senior year of high school. I want to say it was junior. I want to say it was senior year of high school. I had first period history class with Ed Powers, and he played this song on the first day of school. Here Comes the Sun. I don't know why, no reason, I guess, but he played it, and it just always stuck in my mind because I was like, oh, this sounds like new beginnings. It's a new year, so I always think of New Beginnings and Ed Powers for when I hear of Here Comes the Sun.
I'm sure Ed Powers would be flattered that you still remember him after all these years.
I'll have to go pay him a visit.
It shows you the power of music there, Joe.
It does. Absolutely, Vince. Absolutely. So there you go. There's our 5x5. That's our summer list. We might do a winter list. We can get some snow, maybe blizzards, maybe strictly cold temperatures. I don't know. You think there's any freezing rain songs out there?
I don't think there are freezing rain songs out there, Joe.
Coastal flooding songs?
Probably not coastal flooding, no.
Yeah, I don't know. Nor'easter songs, though. There might be a couple of nor'easter songs.
But there's flood songs. I don't know about coastal flood, but there are flood songs.
All right. Well, we'll think about that. But before we wrap up, I want to talk just about a new list because, like I said, this isn't the only time we do this. We've been doing this since last October. So we have gotten creative in our lists over time. We've kind of picked out different things. So this was one I wanted to do. This was the top 10 albums. One album wonders was pretty much it. Not one hit wonders, one album wonders. So you had to have more than one charting single on this one album, but albums around it could not be in, I believe I said you couldn't have a single or the album couldn't be in the top 50. Because otherwise it was going to get really hard.
An album in the top 50.
Right.
That's
so
correct.
We won't go through them all. We just have about another minute or two here. But you had some unfortunate words at the top of here. You said, unlike most lists that I create for you, I would not recommend that you listen to any of this music.
That is correct.
I don't know, Vince. I like some of these songs. Somebody That I Used to Know by Gautier. I mean, that was a single on the album.
That is a good song. That is a good song.
Good Vibrations, Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch. I mean,
without that.
I think you had one more thing maybe. Oh, Bust a Move by Young MC.
Yeah, we don't need to ever hear that again for the rest of our lives either.
Well, all right. So here's where we go. I'll just read off what you did was here. Well, I'll read you the albums. So we had World Click by D with 3 E's Light. Then we had Locked After Dark by Tone Lock. Then we had Making Mirrors by Gautier, which I completely forgot about until you brought up this in the album.
Well, I think it's the songs that may be more famous than the album. So.
Well, correct. I'm just reading off the album names. Reading off the album names. But we have what do we have here? Music for the People, Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch. We have The Left Bank, which was Walk Away Renee / Pretty Ballerina. Dream with It Was All a Dream. Cutting Crew with, what's the album? Broadcast. Aha. I think a lot of people know Aha, Take on Me. And then Hunting High and Low that was their debut album. Right Here, Right Now. Is it Jesus Jones?
No, I just called it Jesus Jones.
Okay. He had an album Doubt and Bust a Move by Young MC. That was one of the singles from his debut album, Stone Cold Rhymin'. So any thoughts on that, Vince? Any thoughts on that list? Besides what you
it's really kind of interesting. Like some of these people who their debut albums were so successful. I mean, they must have thought, oh my God, I'm going to have this great career. And it just goes to show you the fickleness of the music business, particularly if your music's not that good.
You heard it from Vince.
To find good music, you got to dig.
Got to dig. That's like anything in life. You got to work to get what you want.
You got to work to find the good stuff.
That's
good
right.
Stuff doesn't come easy. I mean, Like you have a year like 1984. I mean, that's the exception to the rule.
Right. Gotcha. All right. Well, there he is. That's Vincent Jackson, staff writer, features writer for the Press of Atlantic City. We're going to keep pumping out these top 10 lists. So you can follow me on social media. I'm going to do the PR work for Vince on this one and get the word out. And Vince, like I said, maybe we'll do something January or February. We'll do some winter stuff.
Yeah, I wouldn't rule it out.
All right. Wonderful. Well, this is Something in the Air podcast brought to you the first and third Wednesdays of every month. That's where you can find our newest episodes. You can find us on the Apple Store by searching for Something in the Air. You can find us on our YouTube channel as well as our website, pressofac.com/weather center. Until the beginning of August, have a wonderful next couple of weeks and maybe check out some of the music that Vince told you guys. Take care.